where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Willow.
Hello.
I almost ate the microphone.
Please don't. Yum, yum.
I'm not even hungry. Who knows? So, hi. It's Murder for Hire Month. And today, going with our Murder for Hire theme, I have a very twisty, turny case for y'all. To note, I will be talking about freak shows from a time where people with disabilities were treated terribly. They still are. And called horrible slurs. They still are. So listener discretion and all. And here's some trigger warnings. Alcoholism, domestic abuse, murder.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, making fun of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
Physical deformities.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've been warned. As always, I think I always put a more comprehensive list of trigger warnings in the description. At least I've been trying to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to check those out before listening, stop and please do so. Yeah.
And also to note that the word freak show is going to be used, and I know that it's not very
sensitive
in today's terms, but back then it was kind of like some people wore
I'm
it as a badge of honor.
To someone I am friends with a lot of the people involved in this case.
I love that so much.
Yes. At least tangentially, I'm friends with the sideshow and freak show community. Mm-hmm. Many of them do refer to themselves as freaks and do refer to it as a freak show, as a reclamation of those slurs.
Absolutely.
I call myself a slut, for example. Mm-hmm. Or a bitch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's African-American people using the N-word. Similar. Mm-hmm. Similar. So we're going to let them have it, and that's all there is to it. So this is the case of Grady Stiles Jr., Lobster Boy. And I have a connection to this case, as I mentioned. I know the ex-wife of the son, Grady III. She used to be on AMC's Freak Show and was the bearded lady. Her name's Jessa. And she's a swell gal, and she's super nice. So I'm going to link her Facebook page. Go like it and send her money or something. I just think if you like somebody, you should just send them money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because everything sucks right now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, on with the case. Grady Stiles Jr. was born on June 26, 1937. I'm not sure where he was born because there are differing accounts, but I know that his family briefly lived in Pittsburgh before moving to Gibsonton, Florida. Grady's father, Grady Sr., was born with a genetic condition called ectrodactyly, which is where the fingers and or the toes are fused together. Mm-hmm. Now, in Grady Stiles Jr. case, it would be his thumb and forefinger were fused, his ring finger and pinky finger was fused, and he didn't have a middle finger, and this was on both hands. This is a type of condition that can be present in all four limbs or even just one limb. And he had it in all four. He didn't really have feet so much. They kind of dwindled into stumps. So it was all of his toes were fused together, but he didn't really even have a proper foot. And the term that was used when he was born is that he was a flipper baby. And of course, that's a very offensive term we wouldn't use today. But I want to put all of this into historical context. Again, he was born in 1937.
Right.
So now that we know what his condition is.
This is one of my favorite eras of human history. I just love it.
It's very interesting. Yeah. They lived in Gibsonton, Florida, which is a really special place. We'll talk about that in a second. Grady Sr. was known to have said that the condition that was present in the family line went as far back as 1840. And the thing is this is a very easily spread genetic condition. You have a 50% chance if one parent has it that the child will be born with the condition.
And didn't he have siblings?
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of his siblings also had the condition. Yeah. And we'll be talking about that.
I figured, okay.
Grady Sr. thus passed down the trait to Grady Jr. And as I described, he had no feet. He couldn't walk because of the way his legs were. It required him to use a wheelchair. So we're going to talk about the town of Gibsonton. I'm sorry, that is so hard to say. It was a popular spot for freak shows, partly because in the winter it was warmer there, so shows could go on well past season. In addition, it was friendly and welcoming. Another reason was that an 8-foot tall man named Al and his 2-foot tall wife named Jeannie had moved there and started a business after their retirement from the circus. It was a place like the freaks in the freak shows went when they were too old to perform. Al and Jeannie sort of paved the way. And like when I say this became like the freak show like retirement community,
It's like the place to park.
Yeah, I'm not lying. They all went there.
Yeah. I forgot that I've seen documentaries about this place.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So many performers and former performers moved to Gibsonton that the town had to adapt, and it did so. And what I mean is they adapted to the various disabilities that their citizens had. Like, they lowered counters for all the little people.
I love it so much.
It's so cute.
It's so precious.
I do know that one of the actors in The Wizard of Oz, who was in the Lollipop Guild, who was one of the little people, he lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the famous residents because it's fun. Another famous resident of Gibsonton was Emmett Bajano, the alligator man. He had rough, patchy, like almost scaly skin, hence the name.
Yeah.
He had a skin condition called ichthyosis.
That's a fun word to say.
Indeed. It means like fish scales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, ichthyosis, I don't know if it's the same as harlequin ichthyosis, and I'm not a scientist and I didn't look it up, but I do know that harlequin ichthyosis is often very fatal and the babies usually die almost immediately after birth. So I don't think he had that particular kind, but basically what happens is that the top layer of skin is always exfoliating as we run around and do our daily business. Like whether you do it or not, it's just going to do it on its own.
Yeah.
And his did not. And so it would build up these rough, scaly patches. And his
skin... Did it hurt?
Yes, it did.
Oh, I've seen pictures of him and I think he looks cool. I didn't know that it hurt.
It did hurt.
That's really sad.
His skin was exceptionally dry. And this is because it doesn't also produce enough like sebum and oils and stuff. And most people like with harlequin ichthyosis, I know have to be like every few hours rubbed down with mass quantities of lotion or they're just in agony.
Oh, honey.
And it just makes me sad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like I said, it's very painful. And Emmett fell in love with Priscilla, the monkey girl. She had a condition where she grew like this silky, dark, glossy hair all over her body, including her face. She was forced to perform with a monkey that they said looked like her.
Oh, baby.
And the owner of the circus forbid them from getting married because he said it would be a distraction from their job. So
What?
Priscilla and Emmett ran away, eloping to Gibsonton. And I included this bit because I just love this story. I think it's cute. It's cute. It's a cute love
yeah,
story.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I also love that Al and what was his wife's name?
Jeannie.
Al and Jeannie.
She was tiny and he was
so
huge.
precious.
It's real cute.
Oh my god! I bet he just carried her around everywhere.
He did, as a matter of fact. I wish I could be carried around.
I want to be carried around.
I'm huge.
I'm not 2 feet tall, but I'm 5 feet tall.
I'm 5'10" and a half.
5'1" and a half.
I'm a giant woman.
Yes, you're 9 inches taller than me.
Yes, I could destroy you.
Yes.
Grady Stiles Jr. was the 5th descendant of so-called Lobster boys. Because, like, the way his hands were, they kind of look like pinchers.
Yeah.
His entire family and life revolved around the sideshow. Excuse me. Now, Grady Sr. had the deformity on his hands, but he didn't have it on his feet so he could walk. That meant he could work.
Right.
Because back then, people did not make accommodations for the disabled in the workplace at all. In fact, they just wouldn't hire you. Yeah. Period. It wasn't like till the 60s when they started.
That's why they had freak shows, so that way people could make money.
Pretty much. And so people could gawk at them like dicks. But what really like gets me is like we haven't had these civil rights protections for very long. Now they're getting taken away again, which is fun. Yeah. So Grady Sr. became really worried. Like, how is his son going to make it in life? And in Pittsburgh, Grady Jr. was getting bullied relentlessly by adults, too. People would just mock him and, like, yell rude stuff, throw stuff at him, beat him up. They made fun of him because his dad also had the deformity. And so, like, life was bad. And so Grady Sr. thought, I'm going to help my son. We're going to move to Gibsonton and we're going to join the circus. You know, and what I think is funny, and I'll talk about this later, is that was a viable career choice to run away and join the circus.
Yes.
So Grady Jr. had two sisters. One was born without the deformity, but the other sister had it, but just on one foot. Their parents had decided after she was born to amputate that foot and get her a prosthetic. And a lot of people get mad about this, but I'm like, nah, I think that was the right decision. Yeah. But there wasn't really any kind of surgeries or anything that was gonna help Grady.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was just bullied and treated horribly, and Grady Sr. was known as the Lobster Man at the circus, and Grady Jr. was known as the Lobster Boy. Mm-hmm. Almost overnight, Grady Jr. was a celebrity of the circus world. He was a celebrity in Gibsonton, and the freak show became his extended family. Other freak show performers taught him how to write, how to use his upper body to drag himself along without using a wheelchair. And as a result, his upper body strength was insane. He was like barrel-chested. This is important to note for later on. So just put a pin in it. In the circus, in the freak show, he wasn't told he couldn't do things because of his disability. And I think that's really important for a disabled person to hear. It is for me. Mm-hmm. Like, they just kind of, like a shoot for the stars kind of attitude. And, like, they're all family.
Right.
And if you've never seen the movie Freaks, it's an old silent film. Do yourself a favor. It's one of the best movies. I love it. And it's all about sideshow performers. When Grady Jr. was in his late teens, he met 17-year-old Mary Teresa. She'd run away to join the circus back when that was a viable career path. But she wasn't a performer, and she didn't have, like, anything special about her. Like, she didn't have a deformity or weird hair growth or anything like that. So she was kind of forced to do, like, ticket girl and odd jobs and cleaning and stuff like that. What really gets me is, like, people running away to join the circus. Like, if you tried that today, like, Cirque du Soleil ain't gonna hire you.
Oh, you have to be so talented for that.
You have to be so fit and bendy.
Yeah. And bendy.
Very bendy. Mm-hmm. Or flippy. Mm-hmm. I'm neither thing. I will just shatter into 4 million pieces.
I've just always found anything that made a human being different to be really exciting and beautiful. Like, I don't know. I find, I don't know, scars really pretty and I don't know, weird things. So, like, I like that they lean into the things that made them different. I know that it sucks to be gawked at, but I'm glad that they were able to, like, make performances and stuff out of it.
Yeah, I like that too. Mm-hmm. Mary was, I just really feel like she was pretty naive. Mm-hmm. She's very young. And she was immediately taken with Grady Jr. She just thought he was amazing. And he was very charming and very outgoing. But, I mean, he also had a pretty quick temper. And that, a lot of people speculate that was due to all of the bullying that he endured, that now he fiercely defended himself. So he just got mad if you looked at him crosswise.
It's hard not to.
I know.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard not to be that way.
Bully me, you gonna eat your teeth, bitch.
I love it when you talk like that.
I'm just not here for it. I got picked on for 1 year and then never again because I went ham on somebody. And so I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't that interested in Mary. He had girls throwing themselves at him when he was young. He was a celebrity. Not just at the circus, but like the audience too. Yeah. But she was persistent. She really was. And finally, eventually, her efforts were rewarded when they began a relationship. And Grady helped Mary move her way through the ranks of the circus. She started doing an act called the Electrified Girl. Mary would be strapped into an electric chair where the assistants pretended to electrocute her. Now, there may have been some mild shocks to create sparks, but she wasn't juiced up or anything like that. Back then, circuses were very vaudeville. They were all about the money, illusion, tricks, and lies. Weird taxidermied animals cobbled together to look like cryptids, like the Fiji mermaid, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no surprise that Mary's act was a sham. However, the crowds ate it up, and they would just like gasp in horror when she was shocked and when the switch was thrown, and sparks would shoot from her fingers and stuff like that. In 1958, Grady Jr. and Mary Teresa married. The honeymoon, though, was very short-lived. And this is attributed to Grady's growing love of drink. He would eventually go on to become an alcoholic, but this is kind of where it started. When Grady was in his cups, he was a different person. Gone was the vaudeville charm, the fun-loving personality. He was mean, aggressive, and violent. He was aggressive when sober too, but this was largely, again, self-defense. The bullying had made him just very reactive and explosive in his temper, and alcohol only poured fuel on that fire. In addition, as mentioned earlier, he had tremendous upper body strength, and he would beat Mary when he was drunk and in a mean mood, and the beatings were horrific because of just how strong he was. And he would also strangle her. And because of the way that his hands were, it actually made him better at strangling.
God.
It made his hits harder, too.
Yeah.
Because the surface area of his hands were different.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mary loved him and really tried to make it work. And they had a baby, a little girl. But unfortunately, she died not long after she was born. Then they had a son, and he also died in infancy. Both babies died of pneumonia. And this was linked to the conditions at the circus. That is not a place to have a small child. It just isn't. It was very cold. It was very damp. And I know that those things don't cause pneumonia, but if you get it, it certainly exacerbates the condition. It's just not good for babies. They had a daughter they named Donna, and she lived past infancy. She didn't have Grady's deformity. Their next child, another daughter, did have the deformity, and he favored her because of it. Her name was Kathy, because she was like him.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, she didn't suffer the worst of the beatings he inflicted on his family. After 15 years, Mary left Grady. She took her daughters with her, but because she didn't understand how the court systems worked, she didn't go to her custody hearing. And as a result, he was awarded full custody of both girls.
Oh, no.
And the authorities took the children away from her and gave them to the abusive and violent alcoholic. So Mary went on to meet a man named Harry Newman. He was another circus performer known for being the world's smallest man, and he was quite small. They went on to have a son they named Harry Newman, but they divorced shortly after little Harry was born, and she stayed in Gibsonton. Grady remarried too. His wife's name was Barbara, and they had one son together they named... Go ahead, guess. What did they name him? Grady Stiles Jr.
Sorry, I'm bad at guessing.
These fucking people just be naming their kid their name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into that, but whatever, you do you.
It's so weird to me.
Now, this Grady had the same deformity as his father, and this gave Grady Jr. an idea. He brought his daughter, Kathy, and his son, Grady, to the circus as the Lobster family. And when in public, he forced the children to wear gloves so they wouldn't be gawked at least not for free.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he was a piece of
Oh,
shit.
my goodness.
He was just a huge piece of shit.
Cover up the money makers? Like, my
yeah,
God.
that's exactly what he thought of it.
My goodness.
Isn't that gross?
Yeah.
When Grady was near 40, he decided to retire from the freak show life. He still traveled with the show because his children were still performers, but he no longer performed himself. It was around this time that Donna, his eldest daughter, ran away from home at age 15. She couldn't take the beatings, obviously, and Grady just treated her terribly in general because she didn't have the deformity. And
Right.
I find that really wild, you know? Donna met an 18-year-old boy, and they had fallen in love, which was the reason she ran away. She knew her father would never accept the relationship because he was also very controlling, because of course he was. So she ran off to be with her beau.
Mm-hmm.
Donna was gone for 2 years, and there are different sources saying what Grady did or didn't do to try and find her. Some say he hired private investigators to find his wayward daughter. Some said he did nothing. I'm going to go with nothing. because I think she contacted him. And here's the reason why. So she's 17 now, and she wants to get married to her boyfriend. And she can't get married to her boyfriend because she's under 18 and she needs her guardian's permission, and that is Grady, her father. So she calls him up and tells him that she's pregnant. Now, every source I've looked at is different. The problem with this is that there's just a lot of it's like folklore or something.
Right.
Was she really pregnant? I don't know. I have no idea. Was she just saying that to make the relationship more acceptable to Grady? I think so. I think she thought if she told him that, she thought two things. One, she'd get pregnant eventually anyway soon.
Right.
And two, it would be the only thing that would make him accept the relationship. And so, yeah, he accepted the relationship. He told her to come home and plan the wedding. And so that's what she did. But yeah, so there are a lot of versions of this story, of what happens next, the day before the wedding. Some people say that Donna was out buying her wedding dress. Ain't no bitch gonna go out and buy her dress the day before the wedding. We know that ain't what happened.
Right.
Come on. Nobody believes that. This weren't no, like, justice of the peace shit either. I could see it then. That's exactly what I did for my first marriage.
I was going to say, I mended my wedding dress because I made it myself.
Yeah.
The night before. Because, you know me. But, you know.
I know. Last minute.
Yeah, we ain't going to go buy it the day before.
No, that's not how none of that works. So anyway, basically, Donna, Kathy, her brother, Grady, Barbara, they were all at one end of the house. Grady and the boyfriend were at the other end of the house. And Donna heard some loud bangs. So she rushed.
My goodness.
And she saw
my goodness
her husband-to-be lying on the ground, shot to death, and her father holding the gun. It's just really sad.
On your wedding day.
The murder took place in 1978, and I looked for, I don't even know how long, to try and find the name of this young man. I mean, he was only 20 years old. It's not even in the court records.
That's so sad.
It's just, his name is gone.
Really sad.
And I hate this. I want to be able to honor him by giving his name.
Well, and excuse me, that was the person that she was in love with. Like,
I know, and we don't get to hear about it. I'm sure if I had dug and dug and dug, I'd eventually found it. But, like, man, there's just...
You're pretty thorough with your research.
Yeah, I try to be. I mean, it's possible that I'm just insane and soup-brained and missed it. But, like, I listened also to a couple documentaries. His name is never mentioned. So I don't know. And you may be saying, Lillian, that's not murder for hire. That's just good old-fashioned murder. And I say yay, you are correct. But this story is far from over. Yeah.
Oh, shit, does she?
No.
Oh.
What happens? So, because Donna saw her father holding the gun, it was obvious who killed her, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Gary said to her, better him than me. As a result, Grady Stiles Jr. was arrested. Grady claimed it was self-defense. He told the police that he and the boyfriend got into a heated argument when Grady told him he didn't approve of him. Grady felt like he was going to be hurt by the boyfriend after he said that. Because of his disability, he didn't feel he could fight back fairly, so he shot him in self-defense.
Call bullshit.
Everybody who hears this story call bullshit.
Call bullshit.
Here's the thing. Grady didn't like to think of himself as disabled. Ever. He thought of it as a plus, not a minus. It was his livelihood. But he leaned heavily into his disability at trial. He wasn't pulling himself around on his arms. He was in the wheelchair, acting feeble.
So many countless killers out there that do that, man. Yeah, I'm so tired of that old
Here's
song
the thing.
dance.
We weren't there. We do not know what happened.
Yeah.
Maybe the kid got violent with him, pushed him around. But I don't think so.
On your wedding day?
I think that he planned this murder.
Yeah.
I think it was premeditated.
Yeah.
So, I'm just laying that out there, my opinion.
That's probably what he was thinking when he was like, sure, come over and have the wedding here.
So, did Grady Stiles Jr. go to prison? No.
What?
No prison in the area had facilities that were, accommodating for his disability, even though he was found guilty of third-degree murder. Now, what is third-degree murder? We don't hear about third-degree murder very much, and it's usually reserved for cases of self-defense, but not always. Basically, you have malicious intent, but you didn't intend to kill somebody, is what it means. That the murder was sort of an accident, but you were being a dick. And then murder happened, but you weren't planning to murder the person. But it's a step kind of removed from second-degree murder, which is a crime of passion type of situation. Because this more leans into self-defense or mishap, things like that. Even though you could say it's weird because we have manslaughter too. So I'm just like, why do we have this third degree? What the fuck ever? I don't know. But that's the definition on Google. Do with it what you will. He was sentenced to house arrest and 15 years probation. And that's it.
What about the children?
Well, they're at home. Well, they're all
they're all older.
They're all adults.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say house arrest, trapped there with your kid. You know what I mean? Like the poor kids, but if they're adults and they can leave.
Yeah. So a few years passed, and Barbara divorced Grady, probably due to the domestic violence and drinking. He tried to start a freak show of his own with Kathy and Grady the third, but it failed. He moved back then to Gibsonton, and there he met back up with Mary Teresa, and they rekindled their relationship and remarried. This was totally due to the fact that during his probation and house arrest, he quit drinking so he wouldn't get in trouble. So he was sober, and he was the man she fell in love with again. You know, he was wonderful and funny and warm and kind, and she remembered, you know, of course, how much she loved him. She thought things would be different. She was wrong. Not too long after they remarried, Grady started drinking again. Of course, he resumed beating Mary, his children, and now even his grandchildren. The drink made him a vile and wicked man. In addition, he would threaten Mary, telling her he'd killed once, he could do it again. One particularly bad fight towards the end of things saw Grady brutally beating Mary. His daughter, Kathy, now in her 20s and 7 months pregnant, tried to break up the fight to protect her mother.
Baby.
And he turned on her instead.
Baby.
He beat that girl so brutally that it started labor, and her baby was born premature.
No.
Both her and the baby survived.
Oh, my God.
But barely.
Mm-mm.
In November of 1992, when Mary was in bed trying to go to sleep, Grady crawled into the bedroom, got up on the bed, got on top of her, and put a knife to her throat. He told her he was going to kill her one day. And Mary was terrified. Grady left without further incident, but she believed he was going to kill her.
Yeah.
He had threatened her many times before, but this time felt different, more deliberate, and like a prelude of something that was definitely going to happen. Not that he would beat her to death in a drunken rage, but that he was plotting her murder actively. Mary finally had to tell someone. Remember, this is in the 90s, and domestic violence was still quite a shameful thing, even back then, which even though it wasn't that far away, people would tell you not to talk about it. Especially in the South.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. They said it was unseemly, nobody's business, private.
I mean, there was, whispers of domestic violence and abuse throughout my family, and we did not talk about it at all.
Mm-mm. So Mary confided in her son, Harry, and that's from the relationship that she had after Grady. She told Harry that Grady was going to kill her, that he was beating her, beating the other kids, the grandchildren, and Harry was really scared for his mother, so he hatched a plan. On November 30th, 1992, in the early morning, police were called to Grady Stiles' mobile home on the circus grounds because relatives were concerned and had called police. When police arrived and entered the home, they saw Grady Stiles Jr., age 55, in his armchair, clad only in his underpants, with 3 lethal gunshot wounds to the head. Someone had just walked in and shot him. In the beginning, investigators suspected that it could have been a robbery gone awry, but nothing of value had been stolen. Like, there was money sitting out. So, of course, that throws that theory out the window. Police saw that Grady's family also just didn't seem upset at all. Like, at all. Like, they weren't, like, whooping and hollering and going, yippee! But they just weren't having a normal reaction. And we have talked about this a million times. I think it's okay for police to get a little narrow in the eye if someone doesn't have a classic grief reaction, but I don't think it should be the sole reason we judge people, including, like, I hear it a lot with Madeleine McCann's parents. Like, they didn't act right. First of all, we're American, we're not British. The British are way more closed in with their, like, expressions of grief or any, like, kind of public display of feelings like that. They're kind of a cold and, like, cynical people, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's why I like British humor so much.
Right.
But they're just... Americans are much more demonstrative with their emotions.
I mean, you even see it, the divide in America where, like, if you see someone grieving in New York City or Chicago, it's going to be completely different than Alabama.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
regionally,
Louisiana.
even in the United States. But, like, especially in England, they are noted for being kind of, I'm not trying to be rude, but, like, emotionally constipated. They keep it in.
Right.
They keep that shit in.
And especially with press conferences, parents are trying to get their shit together so that way they can give a thorough description of their child and do the work.
Now, I know I make a lot of people mad when I say this because I get hate mail every time, but I do not believe Madeleine McCann's parents killed her. I just don't. In fact, they've been cleared.
Yeah.
So I think we should all shut the fuck up about it now. I just don't think judging them or like the Ramseys or anybody who's lost a loved one in the public eye like that. And so police were suspicious, but they weren't like too suspicious yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Police determined the cause of death, like the time of death, was 11 p.m. on the 29th, the night before. After interviewing neighbors, friends, and family of Grady, police put together kind of a rough timeline of events. On November 29th, Grady was left home alone shortly before 11 p.m., the time of his death, because Mary and Harry left the house to go do something, to go be with family, conveniently. At 11 p.m., neighbors heard gunshots. On the 30th, in the morning, when Mary and Harry returned home after visiting family, they found Grady dead and called the police. Immediately, police were very suspicious of this shit and of Mary and Harry. It didn't make sense that she'd go out visiting family really late at night and then return before the sun even came up. That, along with the family's tepid reaction to his death, kind of made them think they had something to do with it. And they weren't wrong. Harry and Mary were questioned. They maintained their innocence, so police administered a lie detector test to Harry. And he failed. When confronted with his failure that he was lying, he sang like a bird. Listen, y'all, don't ever do that. I don't care what you did. Don't take the fucking lie detector test. And don't answer any of their goddamn questions, even if they ask you if you like a ham sandwich. You tell them I'd like a lawyer. I ain't saying shit. I mean it. Listen to me. He told police that he was scared for his mother after she came to him and told him what Grady had said and what he had been doing. He told them that Mary was certain Grady was going to kill her. Harry thought the only way to help her was to have him killed, and he just didn't want to do it himself. He didn't think he could, so he looked for someone to do it for him. Harry knew a young man named Chris Wyant, who was a circus performer. He was only 17. He had also run away from home, and he just wasn't making enough money with the odd jobs at the circus because he didn't really have any talent or skill, and he didn't really have enough to live on. And he was desperate for money. So that's who Harry asked to kill his stepfather. Chris was a rough character who had bragged to Harry in the past that he'd done drive-by shootings, so he assumed he could get the job done. Mary and Harry were able to scrape together $1,500, and they approached Chris and asked him if he would kill Grady for the money, and he said yes, so they began to plan. And I think that's wild. It only took $1,500.
I mean, yeah.
How much do you gotta suck, you know?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
On the evening of the 29th, Chris tapped on the window of the mobile home, and this was the signal to Harry and Mary that they needed to leave the house. So they did. Chris then broke into the house after Harry and Mary left and shot Grady in the head 3 times from behind. He never even knew what hit him. And honestly, probably better than he deserved. When the finger was pointed at him, Chris immediately folded. He was like, yep, did the thing. Like, he just didn't even bother defending himself. So he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for second-degree murder.
That's weird.
Was
it like a plea deal?
Must have been.
Yeah.
Must have been. But I mean, he was paid to do it. That kind of removes some of the malicious intents behind it.
Oh. Okay.
Like, there's like, hitmen don't get sentenced as bad as the people who hire them.
Okay.
Which I've always found interesting.
Yeah.
And acceptable.
I guess I could kind of understand that.
So at Mary's trial, of course, she pled self-defense. The problem is that it's not like she killed him in the act of him, like, threatening her life. He was in his underpants watching TV. So self-defense isn't going to really work on this one.
But it feels like self-defense because he held a knife to her throat.
Well, the court asked her, why didn't you just leave? And she's like, well, I could. And I could take my children and grandchildren with me, but they all have very easy to spot deformities. He would find us. He said he would find me and kill me if I left.
Yeah.
She's like, he would kill me if I stay, so I just really had no choice either way. The children testified that all this was true, that they had not only been a victim of the beatings themselves, but had heard his threats and believed he was going to kill Mary and possibly the rest of them.
Probably, yeah.
Probably. So, yeah. I do believe Mary was being honest. She was found guilty of manslaughter. She was sentenced to 12 years. I think that's goddamn fucking ridiculous. I think it's too much. While Grady, who had killed his daughter's husband-to-be, never spent a day in jail.
Right.
This is the worst of it to me. Harry was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder. And I just don't think that's fair.
Harry. He just wanted to protect his mom.
He just wanted to save his mama.
I mean, murder's never good, but still, he
needed to shuffle off this mortal coil and quit tormenting everybody that loved him.
I know.
Yeah. He died in 2014, and he died in prison.
Baby.
In 2009, Chris Wyant was released from prison. Mary was released in 2000. She moved back to Gibsonton, but she wasn't really welcomed back.
Oh.
She had the sideshow community's hero and celebrity killed.
Yeah.
So they weren't very nice to her. And many people even knew how abusive and horrible he was, and they still were shitty to her. And I think that's unconscionable. In 2014, Grady Stiles III spoke out publicly in defense of his stepmother, Mary, and his stepbrother, Harry. Grady III has even said he believes that Chris Wyant was not hired, but rather took it upon himself after Harry vented to him about the troubles that he and his mother were having with Grady Jr. I think this is horseshit. I think it's nice that he's standing up for his stepmother and his stepbrother.
Right.
I think that was right of him.
Right.
But I do not believe...
Why
would Chris was like this like kind of gangbang and thug kid? Like, why would he just do it out of the goodness of his own heart? That doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
That he'd do it for money does.
Yeah.
That a 17-year-old kid would think $1,500 was enough money. That makes sense to me, okay?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I don't believe that. I think they totally hired Chris Wyant. Grady Stiles Jr. funeral was a sad affair because it was pathetic. Hardly anyone showed up. No one wanted to carry his casket. Only one bunch of flowers was left at his grave.
No one wanted to carry his casket.
Nobody.
Man, I don't have many friends.
My casket would get carried, and I'm a heavy bitch.
I at least would have at least 6.
Yeah.
To carry me.
At least. Yeah. I mean, it might take more than 6. They're very strong dudes.
Yeah.
They got a lot of ass. A lot. Maybe they should remove some ass when they pack me in there. I don't know, make it easier on everybody. Or just bury my head, you know?
That'd be cute in a little box.
Yeah, where I'm just like, you can't see me sticking my tongue out like a whore. So there you have it. The twisted tale of Grady Stiles Jr., Lobster Boy.
I love that you told this story because I had forgotten the documentaries that I had seen on this.
It's really good.
So it was kind of like refreshing that memory. And then there was a show that was very similar to this. that I had forgotten and then remembered as you were talking. It's Carnival.
Carnival?
Carnival.
Yes, I love that show from HBO. It was super good and weird.
Yeah, it was dark and kind of twisted.
Lots of sex.
Lots
It was on
of it.
HBO.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
It was all right. I was into it a little bit.
But I love this like era, this theme, this.
I love vaudeville.
I do too.
And I think we should do a vaudeville month because there's sure a lot of fucking crime.
That'd be fun. That'd be
vaudeville
fun.
month?
Yeah, what if we did that for October or something?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, let me know what y'all think.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we come from a very vaudeville type town too.
I'm a vaudeville person.
Yeah.
I'm not like a snake oil salesman, but
No.
I'm just a performer. And I'm a loud kind of ha-ha performer, which I've learned the way you pitch your voice is called puking.
I don't like that.
You know, when radio talk show hosts talk like this, like, hey there, it's Winnie and the dog.
I love it.
It's called puking.
I don't like that term.
Nope, that's what it's called.
I would like a new one, please.
Yeah, and I really love like old-timey radio announcers. I want to know what that voice is
There is a
called.
word for it, and I always forget it.
Yeah.
But there is a word
It's
for
like,
it.
hey there, gentlemen, craving a good, healthy smoke? You know, it's like,
yeah. You have
like
a
they're
cigar in
chewing
your
on
hand.
their words.
Yeah.
I love it so
Yeah.
much. You know what else I love, Willow?
Please tell me.
Business time. Actually, I don't love it. I can never think of what to say. Join our Patreon, join our Discord, buy a t-shirt, buy a mug, buy a sticker. The link for all of this will be in the comments, but I want to talk to y'all about Maris's book. Come on now, somebody read it. Don't make me beg you. He's a sad boy. He just wants people to read it. And he will give it away for free. And if you want it, and yes, you do, because it's funny, it will break your heart, make you cry in a good way and a bad way, and it will make you laugh. And it is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. So if you would like to read it, message me. Email me. Don't be scared. Some of you are so scared to talk to me. Stop it. I am scary, but not over the internet. I'm not. I'm just scary in person, and that's just because I'm fucking loud and embarrassing. Like, I'm not dangerous. I won't kill you. I'm not cool.
I need to get back in Discord. I've been disassociating for a couple months, but I want to come back into Discord and hang out.
We be
for a
having
little bit.
fun. Maris is doing a thing that's very hilarious in there. I don't want to say what it is because it's also kind of mean. But yeah, you have to join the Discord to find out. I'm not giving away our secrets. I'll tell you when we're done recording.
Okay.
See, I would tell you when we're done recording if you were in the Discord. I'm in there every day, all day, y'all. God damn, hurt my feelings. Join the damn Discord and say hello.
Come say hi.
Yeah, show me a picture of your dog.
Yeah.
Or your cat, or your lizard.
Or your face.
Snakes. I'll take pictures of those too. Snakes are just a bag of throat. You put that in the pipe and smoke it. I saw that on a meme today and it grossed me out. And I hate it. But it's true. They are a bag of throat.
I don't appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. That's what I'm here for. I don't know what's wrong with me. Science will never be able to have the answer. But the answer is join my Discord. If you are listening to this on YouTube, rest assured videos coming soon. I just had to learn yet another fucking skill I didn't want to learn, video editing. And I thought I was good enough for like short videos and reels. But man, I had to take a class and learn like Adobe Premiere Pro and shit and After Effects so I can make our videos look actually great. I'm not saying I'll look great. The video will. But God, I don't want to be on video, but I'm going to do it.
I loathe every thought of it.
I don't give a fuck about you. This is about me.
Yeah.
But we're doing it somehow, some way. Maris Mondays will be first. So if you're listening on YouTube, to encourage me, please hit the like and subscribe and the notification bell and leave a nice comment like I love you, Lillian, and I will join your Discord. Please stop bullying me. To which I say, no, get in there. But if all you can do to support this podcast is listen, thank you very much. I appreciate you. This is for you. Let's make it weird. Make it weird. Come on.
Oh, I love you.
I love you.
So much.
So much, audience. Teabags. Yeah, I'll kiss you a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to go. Bye. Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/Cruelty has all the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Libby.